And then when you see the bag, they put it on the how they're like, that sachet that you talk about throw away and become this food. I mean, it's phenomenal. This is really interesting. So we are serving the planetary in our neighborhood here. I suppose the other islands there. We are making sure that nobody is left behind. Because we want to make sure that we carry them from, especially the advocacy part, so that we are conscious of the environment. My name is AIIDEV Africa. I'm the founder and director of Planetary. Planetary is a social enterprise that is dedicated to converting textile and plastic waste into eco-friendly products. I realize that many people are already doing things in the environmental sector, but I noticed that they neglect pure water sachet a lot. And when you look at it in a day, some people drink like 10 of it in a day, and they just throw it down like that. And now thought of it that how can we complement the existing solution? How can we use it to make sure that this waste is no longer there, at the same time create opportunity from converting those waste into items? I work at Planetary. I'm the head of the business department. I came here as a weaver to learn how to weave. Then I was introduced into how to convert this waste into weaving. But one we could also be able to employ women and girls. Also, we've sensitized with need of having a clean environment to over 6,000 students are coming across Olympic Nigeria. In fact, because people see pure water sachet as irrelevant. I'm done with my water, I bought it 20 naira, and I've thrown it away. And then when they see the bag, they put it on the how they're like, that sachet that you talk about throw away and become this good. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's so we are said Planetary in our neighborhood here. I dispose pure water nylon to them every week. I will be trying to give it to them, making sure that nobody is behind. Even we want to make sure that we carry them down. Especially the application part, so that
Hey, good day, everyone. You're welcome back to class, and this is the Teach4SDGs class for this week. Welcome, everyone, and I'm glad to be here once again, and I'm happy that every one of us is also on this section at this moment. So welcome once again back to class. How are you doing? And okay, let me introduce myself formally. I am Yetunde Junai, the Program Associate for AIIDEV Africa. So just like I love to do, I love to meet people from different countries, from different regions. So please kindly put in your name and the country you're joining us from. Kindly put it on the chat box. Just introduce. Let's know you. Let's know where you're joining us from, so that we can familiarize ourselves with each other and yes, meet one another since we are joining from different regions and different countries. And I can testify that the past time classes has been very, very informative. And yes, even the last class was so powerful because we have a very good facilitator who addressed a beautiful topic. And we'll also be doing that today. We have a wonderful facilitator who's going to be taking today's topic. But while we do that, I would love to have some recaps from the last class and section. What are those things that we have learned from the classes? You can put it on the chat box. You can also um, feel free to raise your hands so that I can recognize you. You can share your experience, what you learned from the last class, because all these things are very, very important, because as we go on with the class, we learn one or two things, which is very, very germane for progress in this program. And as a participant, it is duly for us to have our jotters, our biros when we are having classes like this, because the facilitators are talking from experience. They are showing us example of things that they can that we can do with Teach4SDGs. And I can remember that the first onboarding section, we saw a lot of people who are testifying for what the program has done to them, the transformation, and they even show some things that they've been able to achieve from this program. And I believe that we are also working towards that transformative stage. So please let me see more of your chat. In your chat box, I want to see your name. I don't want to know where you're joining us from. And I want to know what you've learned from the last class. So let's see how it's going. Yeah, I want to learn too, because I don't want to believe that every one of you are just learning. You are not ready to impact even me with the knowledge, because I love to learn. And I might have missed out of one or two things from the facilitator which you have dropped. And I feel like I need to get from you understand? So that is why I'm asking you to share with me what you've learned from the last class. I'm still waiting. I'm holding on to the chat box while we check for other people's responses. And don't forget, I asked us to put in our name and the country we are joining from, so that we can all familiarize ourselves with each other. That is very, very important. Still hoping to get some messages. Okay, I see that some are just trying to prepare their questions for me. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll try to read out some names and some things that people are actually saying there. So just give me some minutes so that I can share with every one of us. Okay, yeah, I can see that. Wow. All right. This is beautiful. Okay. I can see the introduction already. Wow. Mm-mm. All right. If I start with this introduction, I don't think I will leave here today, but all right, thank you for introducing yourself. So I want to hear from you what you have learned. So I don't think I have seen any yet. Okay, now last class we learned on the role that educators can do to I can't read that. Achieve sustainable development. That was not clear enough. Okay. So I learned that as teachers, we have the major role in accelerating the attainment of the SDG by 2030. Oh, that is wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay, I can see here another input. Okay, this is Marshall. Okay, from Joss. He's saying that the significant role teachers play and how SDGs can enhance such role in line with attaining the prescribed goals. Wow. I learned that teachers are the main drivers of SDGs. Like seriously. Yeah, I support that. Yes, because officially I'm also a teacher. So anything that has to concern teacher, I'm in. So yes, we are a great driver when it comes to SDGs, because I believe that as a teacher, we have all the power to inculcate some abilities in our students. And the students believe that we know almost everything, if not everything, yes, they assume. Yes, but they need to understand that we are also learning, but teachers are a good driver of SDGs, if I may say. So, all right, thank you for that. Okay, I'm seeing another one. This is Olufunke from Ekiti State in Nigeria, saying good evening to all. I've learned about the concept of sustainable development. Oh, awesome. Okay, last week I learned about how goals evolved into SDGs. Wow. Learned about how students carry out activities can be as sources of income to them and can okay. Yeah, I can't read out the other information. Okay, so sorry. Okay, I've learned on how an educator I can impact on my community as an SDG teacher. Awesome, awesome. That's fantastic. I can see that we have all learned a lot. Yes, and that is the wonderful thing that we are always saying when it comes to program like this, because there are some times that we feel like, oh, I know it all. You don't know it all, even as a teacher. Yes, you don't know it all. We have to learn one or two things. There are some things that we've been hearing for a while, but we may not understand it to the depth at where we should learn those things. So I think this program is an opportunity for us to learn more and see beyond where we are. Also see that this is from Ifine John saying I learn on how an educator I could impact on my community. Okay, I've read that. So in the previous workshop, I learned about the evolution of concepts of sustainable development and the incredible power that the educators have towards awareness raising about sustainability practices. Yes, I think I also mentioned that before now, which is very, very important. We have a lot of impact that will make on the students. So some of the roles of educators in attaining sustainable development is on policy formation. This is more about calling for policy changes to promote SDGs. I think that is what this person is trying to type. Integrating sustainability into the curriculum. Wow, I love that. Yes, because the policy is very, very important. Very important. And I'm seeing I am Nafi Ahmad from Kano, Nigeria. Was left last was left last week. Now I'm glad to be a part of the program. Oh, you're welcome back. Yes, you're welcome back. Okay, I see a lot of things coming in. Okay, I'll try to read everything because I think I'm getting one or two things from this and okay. So right about now, we have to move. Thank you all for sharing with me what we have learned from the past class. And I had to read out some of it so that we can know that, yes, people are actually taking note of what they are learning in class because those things are very, very important. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for telling me where you're joining us from. That was a great one. Okay, now I'll be calling on Amanda Abram to take the mic from here. Um,
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing? I'm fine.
I'm great. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, how's everything? How's the weather over there?
Sorry, can you say that again?
I said, how's everything? How's the weather over there?
So yesterday it was snowing a little bit. Actually, I'm based in New York, so we had snow yesterday afternoon into the evening.
Okay, awesome. That's fantastic. I just needed to know how the weather is because right over here the weather is hot. So okay, yes, thank you, Amanda. Let me try to brief us about Amanda. And Amanda is a dedicated education and international development professional with a fervent believer in the power of learning to drive positive global change, currently serving as the Director of Global Schools Program at the United Nations Sustainable Development Solution Network, where she's wholeheartedly committed to advancing education for sustainable development and empowering the next generation of leaders. Our journey in education has been fueled by a deep understanding of the vital role it plays in shaping a more equitable and sustainable world with a vision to create a planet where every student is equipped with the knowledge, skills, and the values to tackle complex global challenges. To lead the charge in integrating sustainability with curricula, fostering cross-cultural understanding and promoting innovative teaching methodologies. With a round of applause with different claps and different flowers, please let's welcome Amanda Abram. You have the floor, Amanda. We have just less than 20 minutes for you to take the floor. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction. It was really great to be here. I'm excited to talk to you all. And you said I have 20 minutes, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit more about education for sustainable development, and it was really great to hear the review of what you learned on other sessions, learning about educators' roles in achieving the SDGs, learning about sustainable development. So my goal today is just to maybe get a little bit more into details on education for sustainable development, on the competencies and pedagogies that support this work, and hopefully give you some practical ideas and examples to use in the classroom to see how this really comes to life. Before we get into that, I just want to do a brief overview of the organization that I come from, which is the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network. So this is a global network of around 2,000 knowledge institutions around the world, including universities, think tanks, and other higher education institutions. So we mainly focus on policy analysis, education work through our SDG Academy and Global Schools program. And we have about 40 online courses on specific aspects of sustainable development. So if you're interested, for example, in diving deeper into clean water or to life on land, we have a bunch of videos on our website, which you can use in the classroom or also for your own learning to go deeper on specific topics. And I specifically work on the Global Schools program, which is our international schools network across 100 countries. We have about 1,800 schools across the world, and we work with teachers to train them on education for sustainable development and students in action projects on the SDGs. So here's just an example, just a really quick snapshot of some different photos from multiple country contexts. So we've worked with many teachers as well as community members to really engage them in ESD activities. And I'll show you some examples of these as we get more into the presentation. So I'd love to do a little bit of interactive engagement, as you were doing before, just to poll the room of people that are on the YouTube to see what global issues are mattering most to your students. So if you use your phone to hover over this QR code and go to menti.com, right here you can put in the code 37290237. And let us know what global issues your students are talking about most in your classroom. So I'll give you maybe 20 seconds to do this. A few more seconds, and then we'll see what people are saying. Okay, so I think this is still loading in more responses, but we're seeing people are saying, as an answer to this question, saying climate change, sustainability, mental health, justice, women's rights, peace, environment, gender equality. So yeah, this is very similar to some of the answers we get when we work with teachers all over the world as well in 100 countries. So young people around the world are really thinking about these topics. And us as teachers, I also was a former teacher myself, have a great opportunity to explore these topics in the classroom, integrating it with our classes. So I know you already talked a little bit about what is sustainable development. And just to emphasize on this point, why it's so important that we need education for sustainable development is because not only because of this climate emergency, but because of the global challenges that are happening across the world. So I also pulled this graph here from the Climate Action Tracker on the BBC, showing how much warmer the world will get if countries do not act on their commitments to curb emissions or go closer towards net zero. And so we know that even these small percentage points and degrees Celsius can really, really affect the state of the world. So this is really an urgent time to act. And in the lifetime of the SDGs, we only have about 5 years left until 2030. So it's really a time where people from all sectors can come together to really make a difference. Okay, so talking about education for sustainable development, this is really emphasized in SDG target 4.7. So there's a bunch of different publications which we can share after this presentation. But target 4.7, there's really two frameworks that UNESCO talks about, which is education for sustainable development. And then the other side of the coin is global citizenship education. So UNESCO has a series of publications where they've put out competencies and learning outcomes on the SDGs, on each individual SDG, about what students should learn to be able to promote sustainable development after they've completed their education. And this is also relevant for lifelong learners, for ourselves, all learners, not only students that might be in school. So this is the entire target. By 2030, ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development through ESD, sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity. So that's kind of what UNESCO defines under this target as education for sustainable development, and we'll get a little more specific with this to show examples in the classroom. Here also is an interesting publication. It's a recommendation on education for peace, human rights, and sustainable development, how UNESCO is thinking about tracking these things with countries specifically. And we're also seeing a lot of countries, especially at COP and different summits, pledge to think about putting climate education not only into their curricula, but their national education systems. Okay, so this next slide, really to break it down, is UNESCO's Education for Sustainable Development framework. So some of the main competencies when we're thinking about ESD in the classroom is really how we can teach students these themes through the three areas. So we have the knowledge and skills, which is their cognitive learning, their values and motivations, which is their socio-emotional skills, and really opportunities, but more behaviors. So how can we really influence their actions so they're not only learning about these topics in the classroom, but how can we as educators promote active pedagogy and activities to really support students in taking action, both inside and outside of the classroom, and really putting their learning into practice. So this is another way I like to think about it on the left here, is really how we impact students in their head, heart, and their hands. So in many different ways, we as educators can influence the students and be positive role models in these various areas when we're thinking about ESD activities that we want to design for them. More specifically, UNESCO also gives about 8 competencies for ESD in the classroom. And some of these might sound familiar. So for example, problem solving, when we're thinking about ESD activities, we want to encourage young people to solve problems, to think actively about things, to analyze multiple perspectives. How can they have self-awareness? So this really goes back to the socio-emotional skills, values, and motivations, analyzing their own situation in relation to others, critical thinking, collaborating, that could be with, the community or with their other peers. And some of these systems thinking about how their situation, as I mentioned, is related to other parts of a system. Anticipatory is about how they are able to think about the future and evaluate multiple choices and perspectives. And these are also very similar, how they can be strategic. So these are some of the competencies that when we're working with our educators at the Global Schools program, we tell them that when they're planning their lessons and activities, to not only think about these competencies for students, but also how they can really affect the 3 dimensions of students. So the cognitive, socio-emotional, and behavioral. And a lot of these things are already relevant in national curricula in many countries. So we work with them to think about how we can integrate these things in activities teachers might already even be doing. Okay. So I want to show you some actual practical examples of ESD in the classroom and show you some places where you can get resources to take activities into your own context. So we could do a whole day session on the pedagogies that are relevant for ESD. So this is a very quick slide, very quick summary. But a lot of the pedagogies that are relevant are very active pedagogies. So how we can get students to do projects or think about inquiry or research or real world application, having them actively be doing something that really goes with that behavioral dimension. We also want to think about how we can really empower students to also give ideas and do some student-led approaches, how they can really be leaders. So how can we foster maybe opportunities for student leadership in our school? The third point where we talk to our teachers about how to really bring ESD to life is to think about how your teaching could be interdisciplinary. How could you maybe partner with another teacher in another department for another subject? Or how could you partner with the school staff to really help students see the connections across different subjects that they're learning in the classroom? And lastly, like I said, we always help teachers think about how can they integrate ESD into what they're already doing. For example, if you work with early childhood and younger students, a lot of those curriculums around the world do emphasize things like, sharing or having empathy towards others. And that could be really easily incorporated with ESD, as we saw on the last slide. So there's a lot of ways to analyze your own teaching, and you're probably doing a lot of things already to bring ESD into the classroom. So I want to show you some examples to make this even more practical of educator strategies we've seen that have been really successful. So a lot of our educators incorporate inquiry or research into their activities in the classroom. So this was an example of an activity done in the United States with a class of 5- and 6-year-olds. So what they did is they mapped their homes and communities, and then were able to compare their homes and their situations to other locales in the state and think about local and national issues. So this was obviously facilitated quite a bit from the teacher because these are younger students. But this is another example of secondary school students. So they did a project where they gave a proposal to their school director on how to support community waste, how to manage community waste. So they actually went out into the community and interviewed members on local issues to get their opinions and perspectives and put this into a proposal. This is an example of a school from Italy. So for International Women's Day, they had students do research on women heroes and draw a picture related to the women hero that they researched. So this is also another great way to bring the SDGs in the classroom, is to connect your work to a international day. We've also seen educators bring discussions or debates into the classroom. I think this is one of the most really important things about ESD, is to create an open classroom environment where students feel comfortable bringing up their ideas, thinking about different opinions, thinking about different perspectives, and really challenging them to think about many different aspects. Some of these topics can be a little bit, difficult for students to talk about or maybe controversial. So that's why it's always important as educators to really create that open environment. So we've seen some educators do Model UN in the classroom to work on ESD. Others have done debates where they've had students debate different aspects of a topic. And then other ones have done general discussions about a topic. We've also seen educators do simulations or plays where students have to act out a certain situation. And here is just an example, as I was saying before, it's really great to promote student-led solutions. So this is an example of a school in Australia. So they gave each of the students ownership of these new waste stations and had them collect waste. And they worked with their geography and math and science teachers, I believe. And they calculated the waste that year, and they saw a 60% reduction in waste. So this is an example of an activity that involved multiple teachers. They were having their own ownership of these waste bins that they had to manage. Also, one of the things that's really interesting is thinking about how you can work with your local community, with parents, with other NGOs, to get students involved outside of the classroom. So this was an example of a school in Chile, and they did a community service beach cleanup. Here's two more examples. So this is an example of a school in India. So they decided, as part of their physical education, to create a music video where they would advocate for the SDGs using inspiring music that talked about these themes. And this was all choreographed, and they made different symbols, including the peace symbol and other symbols. And then they advocated for the SDGs across their school. And here's another example of a campaign for stopping violence against women. I'm going to skip over this video since I don't want to run out of time. But some of you also might be either school administrators or school leaders as well, or want to be in the future. So if this is you and you're thinking about bringing ESD into an aspect of being a school leader, another thing that is very important is thinking about the vision of the entire school and the whole of school approach. So not only what is happening in the curriculum and the way you teach and how students are learning, but also how can we make the school environment more conducive for ESD and for the SDGs. So thinking about like the waste example, a project, or other things like that. And then how can we promote this culture of ESD for the entire school? How can we promote professional development for teachers and other learning for everyone across the school? And I think this really starts with creating a shared vision. and really bringing everyone together in your school to think about how this would look in your school community, because every school is different, every country is different. But if one of the first steps to really creating change is making sure everyone is on the same page with the vision and where your school wants to get to by the end of your ESD journey. And this takes a very long time. So it won't happen in 1 to 2 weeks, but it definitely is a full journey to create a vision and to lead by example and support other teachers and staff in your school. So these are just some examples of supporting school teachers and staff. So if you are in this position where you want to teach others in your school, we have a lot of resources on our websites for workshops, so I'll show that to you at the end of this presentation. And this is another idea on community engagement and partnerships. But let me just keep going so I don't run out of time here. I just want to show you some specific resources on our website and specific programs that we have that you can get involved in to really support learning on ESD. So there's a couple things I want to mention here. So first, we have a new project this year called Ages of Globalization. So this is a course by our president, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, where we offer a lot of videos on the SDGs and also a lot of lesson plans and content. So it's based on his book, The Ages of Globalization, and it sets out to prepare mostly secondary school students or youth in general to solve the sustainable development challenges of today. And this all contributes to UNESCO's ESD framework, as we were discussing before, supporting all of the SDGs and the cognitive, socio-emotional, and behavioral learning domains. So this course, I'll show you the link to this at the end of this presentation, but it's free for learners ages 14 and up, and it is interdisciplinary as it integrates world history, science, geography, and technology. And this is told through visiting UNESCO cultural heritage sites. So each lecture is about a cultural heritage site and really supports that aspect of SDG target 4.7, as I showed earlier, on how we can support students learning about cultural diversity and how culture contributes to the achievement of sustainable development. So there are 3 sets of classes, and we also have lesson plans that we offer for teachers, 28 sets of lesson plans with different activities and ideas of what you can do to take ESD into the classroom. And each of these lesson plans also has 5 videos that you could either use for your own learning or show your students. So the first 6 talk about foundational content. The next are on the different ages of globalization and the different challenges. And then the last part is on the great 21st century challenges that we are facing today. And additionally, I want to invite you all to the live component to this course. So every month we also have an opportunity where we give students to talk to world leaders about the challenges that they are facing in the world. So our next session, and I invite you to register for this, which is on February 26th. We're going to hear from Simon Kofe, which is Tuvalu's Minister for Transport, Energy, Communication, and Innovation, and Yershel Rodriguez to discuss the topic of climate change for small island developing states. So each month we have a different topic where we talk to either a world leader or a government official in action online on Zoom, and then a youth activist thinking about these big questions that we're trying to answer as educators and as learners. So far we've had 4 sessions with over 6,000 participants from 160 countries. So you'll see we had Felipe Paulier, he's the UN Assistant Secretary General for Youth Affairs. Eric Solheim, he is the former director of UNEP. We had Jeffrey Sachs on one of them, and Yasmin Sharif. She's the executive director of UNICEF's Education Cannot Wait Fund. So we invite you to take part in this, to discuss these topics, to find a community of educators that are working on these issues. We also allow the students to take over our social media and to also moderate these sessions with world leaders. So if your students are interested, you can also please let me know. And we also provide tailor-made learning resources for each topic. So I'll show this to you at the end of the presentation. So I want to just take a quick moment before I close here, because I think I'm at the end of my 20 minutes to show you where you can find some of these specific resources to look at on your own time. These are some examples of publications. So let me just stop sharing my screen for 1 second and go over to this other tab. Okay. So hopefully you can see this. So if you go onto the Global Schools website under resources, all the way on the right, it's globalschoolsprogram.org. You can see we offer a variety of lesson plans for educators in different languages. So you can feel free to look at these if you need more ideas on education for sustainable development in your classes. The next tab, we have different activities guides on SDG topics specifically. So here's example: quality education, responsible consumption, clean water. And all of these were also built by various educators around the world with various perspectives coming together to put these ideas together. And then if you go to our case studies tab, we have 2 guidebooks where we have put together stories of educators all across the world to give more inspiration and ideas of what people are doing in the classroom. So for example, if you open one of these guidebooks, we go into detail on the different activities and how you can adapt these to your classroom by reading what other teachers did with their students. And then I'll show you one more thing as well, which might be useful for you all. And I'm happy to share these links afterwards with the program, so you can take a look at these. And here was the live sessions that I mentioned. We're engaging with world leaders, and I want to just show this to you because we have more resources for you to use in the classroom. So for example, this session on climate action, we have activities before the dialogue and activities after the dialogue. So if you click this link, you'll find a lot of different activities that you can do with your students on climate action with a table of contents and a step-by-step guide for how to talk about this in the classroom with discussion questions and thinking about how these topics might affect you. Yes, it's always important to think about this in your local context, of course, but just wanted to provide as many resources and ideas as possible on ESD and what you can think about or can start to brainstorm as you go ahead with your students. I think that's mostly what I wanted to show you, but just to say this is a journey, as I said before. It takes a long time to think about ESD in your entire school institution, but I think if we start with small steps, I was a teacher as well. I taught a lot of students these topics. Teachers are so inspiring, and we all really have a role to play in achieving the SDGs. So thank you for letting me speak to you a little bit about ESD today.
All right. Thank you so much, Amanda. And I must say, I was just following up, and so it's so interesting that people are really doing a lot when it comes to teaching for SDGs, when it comes to education in SDGs, and those are wonderful. Well done, Amanda, and your team. Those are wonderful work you've done there. And I believe that everything that you've been doing are impactful. And I want to believe that everyone on this call today has really learned a lot. As she has said, she'll be sharing the links with us and we'll be sharing the links with you so that you can access the link and make use of the resources that is available. Because I don't think you would want to miss out of those links, because those links are very resourceful. She has shown to us things that we can get from them, lesson notes, an idea of how we can make our plans on the education for the SDG. So thank you so much, Amanda. I'm so grateful. And right now we'll be taking questions. So if you have any question, I want to see your question so that she can take the question before we leave right now. So I'm waiting for a question, apart from the fact that we are waiting for the link, which she has communicated that she will be sharing with us and would also share with you accordingly. So yes, let's appreciate Amanda. She has done a really good job. Yes. Okay, I'm still waiting for questions before we let Amanda leave so that she can focus on other things. Okay. I'm trying to check through the chats to see if there's any question. Okay, for now, I don't think there's any question, but I believe that if you have any question, you can actually communicate with us directly through our email address so that we can probably send it across to Amanda. Or I know she would always be willing to answer our questions. I'm very sure of that. So thank you so much, Amanda. It is nice to have you here, and we are glad to learn from you to take one or two things from your knowledge. It was very impactful. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Amanda. We can release you right now. But if you still want to be on the call, it's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And yeah, I'll share all the links. You feel free to share my email, and people can also connect with me on LinkedIn. That's a good place to connect with me as well. So thank you again.
All right, no problem. We'll do that. So share with us so that we can share with every other participant too, so that they can connect with you. Thank you so much, Amanda. Do have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And I can see that the class was really impactful as we all engaging with the classes. These are one of the things that we are meant to do. When we get to hear from other people's experiences, what they have done, from what she spoke about, you can see from the picture evidences that she has impacted a lot of communities, and it is really working out well, and planning to do more. And that is one of the reasons we are here today. And we are ready to do more, to make impact. And when it comes to education, we are always active. So I would like to call Mr. Mayo Waonioshu to take the call right now. Take on the call right now.
Thank you very much, Yetunde, and well done for all you do. I can say it's been an amazing section so far. But please, I see there are still some other concerns on the YouTube channel. People wants answer and want some clarity. Please attend to that very quickly before I come back to you.
Okay, I was asking for questions, but the questions I think came in late, which Amanda promised to send us some link. So by that we'll be sharing the questions with Amanda while she answers some questions, and we share with the participants so that they can have a good knowledge about it. So, and all the link that people are requesting for, Amanda promised to share with us. So please kindly hold on, as we'll be sharing all that information, every information about the link with you, as Amanda shared with us, as she has also promised. So kindly put in all your questions too. Just jot down all your questions so that we can send those questions to Amanda. She would be attending to every question accordingly. and we'll be sharing it with every participant so that we can have a good knowledge about it. So I hope that is clear enough for every one of us, right? Okay, so the teaching with Amanda was really being impactful, but she has been rushing on some key subjects which she should take enough time to explain. Okay, so sorry. That was because of the time frame. We are so sorry for that. Hopefully she would trash out some other things for us to know more about. Okay, let's I've seen some messages that was like, oh yes, it was insightful. What is that thing that you actually picked out from what Amanda told us today? Because I picked a lot of things, even from the link she shared. She shared us how it looked like. And one of the things that I think was very useful was the lesson notes of being in different languages. So I think the language won't be a barrier from if you're checking out the link for resources from any country, it will be helpful. So all that thing do you think was insightful? Because that has been everything I've been seeing on the chat box is insightful. Please, I would like to get one or two things. Let's discuss. I can see, yeah. Yes, it was a wonderful presentation. I want to know what we've learned. Yes, I believe that. I'm waiting, please. I want to see some of those things that we have gotten. I don't just want to see it was insightful, as a lot of us has a lot of us has actually put on the chat box. Yes. Still waiting. Okay, I still keep seeing Ellen Mbuka's question popping up. We have noted the question and we will share with Amanda. Amanda will be getting the answer from Amanda. Will be sharing with you accordingly. Okay, you can see for Gift Joseph, they say it's such an inspirational section with Amanda for us educators to use the best, very educated approaches to integrating SDGs into classroom. Wow, wonderful. Yes, I think those are one of the things that she was trying to make us understand, because as much as we are into education, we need the right resources, we need the right equipment for us to do the necessary things that we need to do when it comes to impacting. So I guess that is very, very important. Yes. Yes, that was true. Thank you very much, Gifts. Okay, I can see a message from Vincent Ebute. Said I learned that SDG has enough learning materials that will guide teachers when impacting students on SDGs. That's just true. So it won't be like, oh yes, I want to do a particular topic and I don't know how to go about it. There's a lot of resources that you can make use of. Everything is online. Yeah, it's online that you can easily get. It gives you a guide on what to do and how to do them. It will also help your impact journey. Thank you, Vincent, for that. Lydia said I learned a lot about sustainable. Um, I hope it is education. Okay, shared vision. Yes, yes, that is very important too. You need to have a shared vision with your team members, or even the organization that you're working with, because that will also help you to amplify your impact in that community or in the environment that you are. You need to share the same vision. Yes, we will want this particular student or this participant to be the best of themselves. So your vision needs to align with other team members or people that are going to make that work, so that you won't be doing one thing and the others will be doing something else, which won't be helpful in any way. So you have to have a shared vision. A shared vision is very, very important. Thank you very much, James, for that. Okay, Caroline saying, can we have the material for? Yes, you'll get the material, definitely. The material will be shared with us, the slide will be shared with us so that we can check through and see through those resources, and every link that is that will be accessible to us, it will be shared. Oh yeah, she emphasized being a role model to our students. This is very, very important because, you know, when you have some set of students, they tend to watch what you do. They follow your path. So you need to be a very good role model, not just a role model, but a very good one. Yes, you need to be a good role model to your student. That is very important. I learned from Amanda that as a school leader, I can lead by example or create communities, partnerships to achieve ESD. Yes, educational sustainable development. That is very, very important. Yes, you have to lead by example, just as Olaritimi has said that we should be a good role model to our students. Yes, we have to lead by example because it is what we do that we try to inculcate or encourage others to do. So they need to see you doing them and seeing it working out well. So that is when they feel like, oh yes, this thing is actually working. It's good. Let me do so. Yes, that was very good. So insightful, so resourceful. Yes, we know that it was. It was. Okay, as an educator, we have a lot of things to bring in for our learners. Yes, we have a lot. It's our responsibility as a teacher. I say responsibility because every foundation of a child, of a student, starts from school, and we're responsible for everything they learn. So in this way, we just need to impact them with that good thing and with a very good resources that will be helpful to them. Yes, we have a lot of things to bring in for them. We have a lot. And student engagement, it is very, very important. You need to engage them. You can't just be teaching and your students are not learning from what you're teaching. That wants to work well. So you need them to engage, to participate, to feel the impact of what you're doing to them, because that is when you now feel like yes, you're making progress with whatever it is that you're doing. You need to make sure that your students are well engaged. I learned to be a model to my students. Yes, we've talked about. She highlights her experience as an educator and the necessary steps in impacting knowledge to our students, which involves the head, heart, and hand. Wow. Yes, I know a lot of us are really paying attention to what Amanda was teaching. So that was wonderful. Yeah. She talked about imparting knowledge to our students, which involves the head, the heart, and the hand, which the head is using our brain to do that, our hearts being empathetic and hand being practical. Yes, that was awesome. So that's wonderful. That shows that we are all following up with everything that Amanda told us. Thank you very much. So we'll be going on now to our next facilitator who will be speaking still more about education today. So sorry. Okay, so yeah, today welcome with me and next facilitator, Mr. Oluwaseyi. It's Esele Olarinde. I hope I'm able to pronounce your name very well. Please don't sue me. All right, so please welcome with me Mr. Oluwaseyi Esele Olarinde, and he'll be talking to us about understanding, sorry, understanding education related to SDGs today. Yes. So let me just give a little introduction about Mr. Oluwaseyi. Mr. Oluwaseyi Esele Olarinde is a sustainable manager with experience in measuring and documenting an organization-based performance and its environment impact, while evaluating operational processes and its alignment with organization ESG goals. She helps organization achieve their sustainability goals and position strategically to measure, report, and reduce emission towards a net zero position. Madam Oluwaseyi is a certified green design expert creating awareness around green building design and the financial benefit of investing in developing and all listen resourceful and efficient green satisfied building. So I want you to welcome with me Madam Oluwaseyi as she will be taking the call right now. Please appreciate her, welcome her with a wonderful clap. Please let's give her flowers. These facilitators are doing wonderfully well, and they are here today and they are here today to share with us the knowledge about green building and economy. Yes, green building and economy, which is part of the program that we are on Teach4SDGs. So you have the floor, Mrs. Oluwaseyi. I hope it's Mrs. Okay, so sorry. Mrs. Oluwaseyi, you have the call. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Please confirm you can hear
Good evening,
me.
ma'am. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, ma'am.
Very well, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here with AIIDEV. And really exceptional for having me. We hope that we're able to share as much knowledge as required to the house and to everyone. So thank you once again for having me. Please confirm you can see me. I'm trying to turn on the camera and as well share my screen.
Okay, we can't see your camera yet. Let's hold on. Maybe it's network.
Okay, while I do that, let me just proceed to share my screen as well.
All right.
So
All right.
okay, please confirm you can share. You can see my screen.
Yes, you can see your screen and we can see your beautiful face, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Try and see if I can also transition to presentation mode. Can't find the presentation mode again this time. Okay. I think we can just proceed. I'm actually sharing from my drive, so there's a possibility that that might be a challenge. Okay, because of our time, let's go. Let's dive right into it. All right. So
Okay, can you
today
try
we'll be
the
talking.
layout, ma'am? Sorry.
Okay. Is it better?
Yes, we can manage. Yes, we can manage this. Yes, thank you.
I'm wondering why I haven't been able to. Okay, give me a minute. Please give me a minute to reshare. Let me stop
All
sharing
right, no
here.
problem.
Okay, I think I should be able to share in presentation mode now. Okay, please confirm you can see it in presentation mode now.
Yes, we can see it. Not yet, but I think it's loading, but it's going to show soon. I hope so.
Okay, so I'll just dive right into it. You can please feel free to stop me during the course of the training if you probably are not seeing a part of the screen, so I can adjust it. But we would typically be talking about the green economy. We will highlight the importance of sustainable construction, and how sustainable construction helps drive the green economy agenda and the circular economy agenda. We'll also touch of the principles of sustainable construction. We'll do a business case study of what sustainable construction is, and then we'll also identify strategies to practically implement sustainable construction as climate change experts. Okay, so when we say green economy, we typically mean a circular economy, right? Or a biocircular economy, an economy that thrives on integrating sustainability measures into its entire value chain such that there is substantial enough resource left over for the future generation. There is substantial preservation of resources. The green economy typically thrives on resource efficiency, and this directly replicates to how it is also implemented in the building industry. So in the building industry, to just do a bit of run some statistics, we know that building materials consume about 30% of the global resource. In the global resource reserve, building structures and building offices and residences and homes, they consume a minimum of 30% of the global natural resource. That's quite a huge number to neglect, right? And to exhaust or use inefficiently. Hence, while the conversation of sustainable building that comes to mind is, first of all, safety, uh, inclusivity into its design, into its construction strategies, a smart building, a building that allows a high level of productivity, should it be a work or what's it called now? A building for corporate use, a corporate building. You also look at the level of resource efficiency integrated into the design and operation of the building. You also look at equitability of that building. Then you look at the overall use of sustainability measures integrated into the building. And then lastly, critically, is how resilient is that building. By chance, I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine on what is happening in today's world in Japan, because in Japan, we know that there is high level of earthquake. The frequency of earthquake that occur in Japan is based on 2023's record. It says Japan experiences about 1,500 earthquake incidents every year. Imagine you living in a world like that. I mean, just count yourself lucky to be an African, right? I mean, I'm not saying that the Japanese are unlucky, but that's their reality. They experience a huge level of natural disasters on equivalently, right? So it's up to engineers and sustainability experts to look at how to design the buildings to be much more resilient, right? And we were discussing yesterday, and then we realized that their buildings have been designed to be earthquake resilient, that no matter the degree of the pressure of the quake, right, the building will still stand. I mean, imagine having invested billions of money into constructing cities, into constructing residential neighborhoods, and within a 10 minutes earthquake, the whole thing comes down. That's huge loss. It will have huge impact on the economy of that nation. It will have huge impact on the well-being of the people. In fact, there will be high mortality rates. In fact, the country would suffer and possibly go into extinction if they did not put into place all of these resilience measures in their construction strategies. So we're going to touch a bit on how green economy integrates with green buildings and how where they align and what that mean in practical sense. So what is a green economy for a few of us who might not have engaged with this word before? A green economy typically is an economy that prioritizes reducing the environmental risks of its economic activities. It also prioritizes reducing the ecological degradation and scarcity of natural resource that most likely will occur. In economics, they will tell you man's need is completely inexhaustible. We have infinite needs. Our needs are inexhaustive, but the resources are finite, right? The resources to meet those needs are limited. We have limited resources. Then the conversation of opportunity cost, or the conversation of um, excuse me, the conversation of looking for the next best alternative to adopt the most efficient way. So economics will tell you you have to look at the most efficient way to manage a resource. As an economist, that's what you are looking out for. Looking at what is the best alternative. How much value, how much more value can I gain from expending this amount of money? And that's the opportunity cost for any business transaction. And so when you talk about green economy, you're looking at how can we marry economics and the environment together? How can we marry them in such a way that the economic thrives and the environment as well thrives? Right? So, excuse me. The green economy seeks to solve three critical crises that is facing our world today. We've touched on the we touched on the economic crisis, excuse me. We've also touched on the socio-political crisis, economic crisis, inflation,
Sorry,
exchange
sorry
rate.
to cut you in, Ma.
Yes,
Sorry,
please
Ma.
go ahead. No problem.
All right. The slide is not moving.
It's not moving.
So
Okay.
yes,
Thank you for
yes.
bringing
All
that
right.
to my
Thank you.
attention.
Thank you very
Hold
much.
on. Let me go to transition.
It's moving right now as you've checked. So it wasn't moving before now. So I needed to just call your attention to that.
No. I might need to go ahead and share from here. I was trying to avoid doing that.
Right.
Okay. How about now? Is it moving now?
Yes, it is now. It is now. Yes, it is.
Okay. So we might need to work without using the slideshow option. honestly don't know why it's not transitioning to slideshow, but we'll work with it. Okay, here was where I touched about what the green economy is. Looks at integrating low carbon growth, plus resource efficiency and social inclusivity. Right. So, what are the targeted crises that the green economy is trying to address? The socio-political crisis, the economic crisis, as well as the ecological crisis, right? And then to be able to transition into a green economy, it's not just about you know, stamping a green stamp on every product or saying, oh, my product is green or getting a green label, of some sort, but rather seeing how new standards can be put into place to drive a green market, right? A green market meaning drive the demand for green products, drive the demand for green buildings, drive the demand for green institutions and green regulations, and therefore in turn drive a change in the overall disposition of man into having much more green oriented behaviors, and having a typical mindset change that will help us really implement this transition that we're referring to. So I'll go straight to it because I'm seriously looking at my time and I want to be able to give us enough time to ask questions. I'll go right into what the components of a green economy is. Practically speaking, in the green building sector, right? Please let's be aware that I'm focusing this conversation on what the green economy, how the green economy comes to play in the green building sector. In the green building space or in the real estate space, typically what we look at is first, what is the waste footprint of the building? How can we integrate sustainable waste management system in the building's operations? What is the water management system? How can we be more sustainable in what's it called? Harvesting water resource and operating water assets as well as consuming water as well. And then when it comes to transportation as well, how can we integrate much more green centered transportation that cuts down on carbon emissions? How can we transition from power source that is non-renewable to a much renewable energy? How can we ensure that our entire value chain in the construction industry is sustainable from extraction to production, right? I missed one, from extraction to transportation of those raw materials to production, right? Where you transform the raw materials into tiles, into building blocks, into ceiling tiles, into roof panels, into AC systems, into light bulbs, and all of the different components of the building, and how they are then used during the construction stage much more sustainably, which typically is defined in this slide as consumption. And then how all of that ties into developing green buildings. So I'll dive right into the impact of green buildings, right? What does buildings, how do buildings impact in the global sphere, right? And this slide breaks it down so that we can sort of put some numbers to our exact consumption, right? So the construction industry plays a pivotal role in like I mentioned earlier, in the economic and social development of every nation. Imagine a country without house. Imagine a nation without shelter. It's impossible to have. What typically would happen is that that nation slowly and slowly continues to degrade and probably goes into extinction because there's no shelter, there's no protection, there will be no continuity, mortality rate will be higher, reproduction will reduce because there's no comfort. People are not protected from the changing weather conditions. So hence the need to continue to look at developing buildings. If we look at the statistics in housing, Nigeria alone has a housing deficit of over, if I recall now, a housing deficit of over $20 billion, right? There is large amount of funds being pumped into the housing sector every single year to be able to meet up with the housing deficit. A lot of people are in the nation that are homeless, right? So it is no longer a good to have. Housing need is a must have for the survival of man, right? So, and to be able to build houses, you need these raw materials, and those raw materials are gotten from, the earth, from natural ecosystems. This details the different percentages of the different components of the building and how they impact on the global reserve of resources. You can see materials consume 40% of global resource. The energy used in buildings is 35% of global energy. And then water used globally is about 5%. Water that is used in the building globally, in buildings globally, amounts to about 5%. And what does that mean for us in the circular economy space? What it means is that our emissions from materials, manufacturing materials, to using those materials during construction, to maintaining the building or renovation, as the case may be, or even to demolition. Emissions increases, emissions to the air, emissions to the water, emissions to the soil. During maintenance or usage of the building generates a high number of waste throughout its entire life cycle. And then, of course, noise pollution. Talk less about the social impact and then the financial impact of those materials. To break it down much more into details, right? Percentage of materials that are used in buildings from the global reserve of natural resources. Buildings consume 38% of woods, right? Globally, in the global reserve of woods, buildings with, that's why you see a high amount of deforestation happening. They are being used for building development and construction of houses. The steel, of course, you need steel and iron rods, a lot of iron rods for your reinforcement of the building. Glasses, no, I don't think there are any buildings that exist today without glass. Look at the numbers for glass. 65% of this reserve is consumed. Much impact the building industry makes in, also opens up the opportunities that we have to actually implement positive change, right? To touch a bit on the environmental impact in construction, I touched on that, but to break it down further, we'll talk on the CO2 emissions that comes into the atmosphere through burning of fossil fuels. And when we say fossil fuel, we typically mean the diesel that is used to power generators, and the cars that service buildings. For example, an organization has, for example, I don't want to mention the name of organization, but a big high net worth organization that, that transports its staffs, or that has provision for status car for executives and fleets for its entire system. Diesel will be consumed in powering those vehicles, thereby increasing that organization's CO2 emissions and CO2 footprint. Methane, of course, which is emitted during the production and transportation of coal, as well as during the decay of organic waste, right? We all know how methane is being generated. When leftover food gets into the soil, methane is being generated, right? And according to the information that we hear, methane actually has much more warming potential than CO2, right? We touch on nitrous oxide and then all the other fluorinated gases. Okay, so I would like to go straight to the sustainable building. So I'll share this slide because I did a bit much more detail to the conversation, but you have access to this slide if you want to just go through it and get those statistics that were talked about. Now, how does buildings contribute to increasing the number of the tons of carbons in our environment today? If you look at down, you see where I listed the different processes, right, through the entire value chain of the building, from sourcing of the materials to extracting the materials to processing of the materials to transporting those building materials to site, and then construction of the building itself. A lot of people, a lot of experts sometimes look away from what happens before construction of those buildings. But the truth is, emission has started right from the sourcing of those materials, right? For tiles, for example, for manufacturing of tiles. Those tiles, most of the time, of course, you know that Nigeria is a heavily import dependent nation. So emissions has happened, right? CO2 has been emissioned, a high level of GHG emissions has happened at the point of manufacturing of building materials, right? We also have huge amounts of emissions happening when transporting those materials because most of the time they are imported into the country. I mean, there's barely any building in Nigeria that doesn't use imported materials. As a council, member of the Green Building Council, we're trying to sort of support the nation at large to transition towards sourcing building materials locally, right? Apologies that I'm focusing on Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian, just in case we have members who are joining from outside Nigeria. I'm sure this applies to your country because there is also a green building representation almost in every African country. I'm aware of that. Right, so the Green Building Council and the World Green Building, the US Green Building Council, every day are looking towards driving the production, manufacturing, and sale of much more sustainable building materials. Why? Because we need to be able to cut down on the emissions that are generated during importation, right? And sourced locally. That's also an indices to measure how green your building is. Okay, now emissions that happens during construction sometimes is also omitted, but there's a huge amount of emissions that happen during construction of buildings. The trucks that bring the cement and to the construction site, the machines that mix the concrete, machines, sometimes you have some automated systems, and all of these mechanical systems are powered by fuel, right? So during construction, a lot of emissions is also generated in the building. And then during the use of the building too, maintenance, repair, renovation of the building, we have volumes and tons of CO2 that is being emitted. And in the case where building will be demolished, we also have huge amount of GHG emissions that are generated through that process. Now, let's dive right into what our opinion of a green building is. Let me look at my time. Please.
All right, you have 5 minutes
To
more.
round up,
Yes, ma'am.
to where to round up. Okay, so I
Can
like
you
to
hear
throw this
me?
question. I always like to throw this question to the house. Yes, look at the picture on your screen and tell me which you consider to be a green building. You can drop it in the chat box. I mean, I can't see the chat box, but feel free to drop into the chat box. The facilitator can just communicate that to me. Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Is it D? Is it E? Is it F? And of course, put your reason why you are selecting your options. Have we gotten any responses?
Okay, not yet. The participants are actually joining us YouTube. So okay, yes, the responses are coming in. I can see B, which I mean two, which is B, then E. Someone is saying B, someone is saying E. Okay.
Nice.
Yes. So yes,
Okay, so
those are the
selecting
responses.
B. B, if you can, just drop in the comments why you think B is a green building. What feature? What do you see? Let me zoom in. What do you see that makes you select, that makes you make those selections? I mean, obviously is surrounded by a whole, thriving ecosystem. You can see the different plants on the roof of the building, on the perimeter of the building. Of course, that's it's obvious. But are those the only options? Please give me more options.
Okay,
And they give
yeah,
me.
somebody is saying, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Somebody is saying construction beautifies the environment, but poses harm in return unless sustainable building is involved. So there is another response of AC, there's another response of B, and there's another response of E because of the plants to reduce the carbon monoxide. Somebody say, I think C and D because of the plants. Uh, okay. Okay, somebody say A,
Okay.
C, E. The building contains agents of sustainability. That's all that I
Interesting.
have for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, that's very good feedback. And I especially like the reasons as to why you are selecting your options because it gives us an idea of what the general knowledge of green building is. And I always like to get that feedback. So, and your responses sort of has justified that general idea, right? Which is when you see plants in buildings or you see some level of landscaping in the building, or you're very quick to check that building as a green building. And you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not entirely wrong. That is one of the measures that we look out for when we're assessing the sustainability of that building, right? The efficiency of the building and the building's capacity to cut down on its emissions. So yes, you are correct. That is one measure. Another one is D. D has solar panels. I'm not sure you saw that or caught anybody's attention, right? And obviously, when you use solar panels, you are sourcing your power from a not in fact from a renewable source. When I say much renewable, I'm going into details because the conversation of okay, now how do we then dispose of the solar panels always happen. That's why I said a much renewable option. But in entirety, the power itself is green, the power is clean, the power does not have any negative impact. It's just the infrastructure that provides that power that that has a level of negative impact or negative impact on the environment or emissions, for lack of a better word, right? So yes, D definitely is powered by solar panels, so it's a green building. It passes for a green building. H, you can see, is a residence. It's D. I'm sorry, yeah, D. I've touched on D. G, well, we can see buildings on this image, they are green buildings. So what does that tell you? You cannot necessarily measure how green a building is from its physical appearance, right? You need to be able to go into details, into measuring certain features of those buildings, one of which is its power consumption. We've touched on that. Its power consumption. Where does it source its power from? What type of power powers the electricity that is used in that building? Where does it come from? Is it from generator set? And is that generator set a gas generator or a diesel generator? Or what kind of generator is it? Is it a hydro generator? Right? Um, is the building powered by a solar power? Is the power that is used in the building sourced renewably? Right? Those are conversations that we have when we are assessing the efficiency of the building or how sustainable the building is, right? So to put it into practical terms, we have a concept that is called sustainable construction, right? Sustainable construction is constructing in an environmentally conscious manner, right? From your material selection to the design to the process of actually constructing and erecting the building and then to the operations of the building. So as a carbon assessment professional, you are looking at from my design of the building, when I give my design to the architect to design, what green building features can I put into the design to ensure that my energy consumption in that building is cut down by a minimum of 20% as opposed to a typical building of that same size, right? how am I integrating green design measures into my design when I tell an architect or when I contract it to an architect, right? How am I also integrating sustainable materials in my construction process? It goes to say that the type of material that you use in building your building is critical. So we'll touch on a bit of sustainable materials that can be adopted, but to practically put it here in Africa, we know that you don't necessarily import mud, right? You don't necessarily import clay, right? There are buildings that are developed today with clay, right? So you have a lot of mud huts that are used in the ancient times to build constructions. Those buildings are locally sourced. They have very, in fact, for such building, you don't have any, you have limited emissions, if at all, maybe during operating the building, not during the construction of the building. And so we see that during most of the time, all the buildings that are used in times of old are actually green buildings. They're actually sustainable buildings. And there are certain design features that are integrated into buildings of old that reduces our need for mechanical power, reduces our need for mechanical cooling, thereby cutting down on emissions by far. Another option is using recycled or repurposed materials. The shape and the form of the building. How is the building shaped? How is it orientated? How is it formed? Is it designed in such a way that it allows for free flow of air within the building? Is it designed in such a way that it's allowing positive harvest of solar power, right? And reduce heat gain, right? Is it designed in such a way that the materials that are deployed in the building are durable, that we don't need to go and last for a minimum of a decade? Generative in the approach, right? These are concepts that we look at as green design experts. So I'll dive right into the
All right,
features so that
Ma.
we can see.
So sorry, Ma.
Yes, please.
Yes, we are getting the messages that the slides are not clear. Hopefully maybe because of the font. So, please, Ma, let's try to round up because the time is not by our side, so that we can
Okay, how
you
many
can
minutes do I
share the slide
have?
with them. Let's 2 minutes, Ma.
Okay, how many minutes do I have left?
2
Sorry?
minutes. 2 minutes. So
Two
sorry. The
minutes.
time is fast spent.
Okay,
Yes.
before the question
So
and
sorry.
answer, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. We'll wrap it up. No problem. I'll share the slides with you so that we can take our time and go through it and just get familiar with all of these concepts. Right. So I'll just like to, can you see this image on my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Is it blur? I mean, I really wish it was in presentation mode because all of this would have been very, very clear.
It is clear enough for it's clear enough.
Okay, so I want to use this image to touch on sorry about the move. Certain features in certain design features, certain sustainable design features that we are to look out for and that we can integrate into our buildings to reduce our demand for diesel power or mechanical power, right? Which by far cuts down on the carbon emissions of every building. Of course, needless to say, as individuals, as we know that we generate carbon every day existing, we have our own carbon footprint as individuals. Buildings also have their carbon footprint. And the goal for any circularity expert or any green economy expert is to look out for how to cut down on carbon emissions throughout the entire life cycle of the building. So look at this feature. I'll start with follow my mouse, follow my cursor, right? I'll start with the shading potential. In times of old, you see that most of the buildings were built with ample enough shading, right, to prevent designed to be slimmer. Their thickness is typically between 6 mm. But for standard windows, they are usually 6 to 10 mm. And they are too thin that they allow easy heat gain. into the building itself. And the more your building is hot, the more you need, mechanical cooling. You need your ACs to be turned on. Um, you need to experience a level of comfort, thermal comfort in the building, right? So the goal of a green building expert is, first, what measures can I integrate into my building to reduce the heat gain from my building? And that's why you see that image where we saw the roof of the building was entirely covered with plants. Why? Because we all know plants harvest sunlight, yes? So before heat would transfer from this roof to the building, the plants have stood as a barrier to prevent easy heat getting into the building, right? That's one way to integrate green design feature into your building to reduce your heat gain. You can opt for a green roof, integrate a green roof. That happens most of the time in buildings that are designed in the global north. But here in this part of the world, we all like roofs, which is good. We can also place our solar panels on the roof to harvest heat gain, because the more your building absorbs heat, the higher your demand for mechanical cooling, the higher your carbon emissions. You can also see that we also allow for free flow. You see this place, they put an open breezeway to help remove heat. Now, if you have a concealed building, like most of the buildings that are designed today, it's concealed. You don't have, there are no windows to allow for free flow of air. You are increasing the heat level of that building. So you need to design your building in such a way that there is free flow of air, right? And good ventilation. What we know is that the warmer air goes, chemistry, hotter, the much more humid the air molecules are, the much more they rise. So the warmer air actually goes to the top of the roof, and that's why always having a ventilation area at your roof reduces the overall heat gain, because your warm air rises to the roof part. And if you have an easy opening in the roof area that allows for free flow, that warm air will just escape outside the building, thereby reducing the hotness of that space and thereby reducing your need for cool and mechanical cooling, right? Another conversation is insulation, ensuring that your building is properly insulated. Most buildings in Nigeria are not, but we're improving every day to integrate a level of insulation to reduce. I mean, you can see that the conversation of heat gain cannot be overemphasized. In regions that are cold, it is reducing the amount of cooling that is ensure that you are achieving a level of thermal comfort for the individuals in the building. Of course, planting reduces heat gain. You can see that the shading and then the free flow of air. The second conversation will be how you are orientating your building. I'm going to share you this slide because of our time, so that you can ensure that we harness the positive solar power coming from the sun in such a way that your building is preserved, right? Your building is preserved through proper orientation, and the level of heat that is gained during the day is reduced, because the building is positioned in such a way that no window is put on the eastern part of the building, right? Okay, this is another design. We don't have the time to go into it because of our time, but let's go to sustainable building materials, right? This is a highlight of options that we can adopt to integrate into our building, right? We talked about the clay bricks. We've touched on that. We cannot overemphasize the need to going back in time and getting clay bricks, because they are much more durable. They are much more thermal efficient friendly. They do not allow heat gain at all. They reduce, their heat, their thermal efficiency is really high. They have really high thermal efficiency as opposed to concrete reinforced buildings, right? Wood, bamboo, straw bale. We're going to share this slide with you so you have options. Bamboo, reclaim the natural wood. Cork straw bales, reclaimed steel. Coconut is a very fantastic solid building material that can be incorporated into our building for reinforcement. A lot of research is going into that, on how we can integrate coconut, to how we can also integrate periwinkle shell in reinforcement. A lot of studies going into that. today. So here are sustainable options that we can adopt. Yes, here are pictures of, well, we're not saying we should go back in time and start building houses like in the Stone Age, but we can integrate some of these sustainable building materials during our construction process, right? I think I have touched on all the areas that are critical. We're going to share the slides. I would like now to open the floor up for questions. And if we have any other time, we can go through um, the other parts of the slide. Okay, over to you, facilitator. I'm just going to be scrolling through the
All
slide,
right.
but we can also see some images and catch on. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, man. I'm so sorry. I can see that there's a lot that we need to learn here, but the time is not permitting us to do justice to all this. And I can see that these are resourceful materials. So I'm promising you all that the slides will be shared also that we can check thoroughly. There are challenges with people seeing the slides clearly. It's blurry, but I promise you it is not blurry. It's because of the font of the writings of the material. But when it is shared with you, you will see the images and the content of the materials very clearly. So thank you very much, Madam Oluwaseyi. We really, really appreciate you. And sincerely, I must say that I've learned a lot from this today. In fact, I'm almost calling myself an architect, but I'm still an educator, you know. So that is because I have learned a lot about the building. Yes, how we need to input our buildings, how we need to make the ventilation, make our construction green, and that is the wonderful work. Thank you so much, Ma. We really appreciate it. So I will be checking through for questions now so that we can. There's practically no question. But there is one that I saw recently. Please permit me to scroll through. Okay, somebody is saying so does it mean it is called green because of the natural environmental qualities? I think she's referring to the buildings that you actually ask them to choose one of the green buildings that is there. So that's what the person is actually referring to. So she's asking, does this mean it is called green because of the natural environmental qualities?
So, by standard, a green building first is supposed to be designed and built in such a way that it protects the existing ecosystem. So, definitely the natural environmental habitats, right, should be put in priority when designing a green building. Say, for example, you buy a plot of land in Ogbomoso, and then the next thing you go to do is cut down all the trees. That's that construction from the start, right, is not going to be categorized as a green building. In Germany, the expectation, the policy is that when you go to, if you procure a land and you see a natural habitat, say you see a pond or you see a stream flowing through your land, you're not just supposed to use concrete and build your foundation and cover it. No, you're supposed to preserve the integrity of the existing ecosystems, right? And then build your building in such a way that you have protected, after protecting and ensuring that you have created the boundary that you want the property to stay on. You ensure that all of the existing ecosystems, the plants, the streams, the trees, they can survive with you. They can conveniently live in that same environment with you. So protecting the integrity of the existing ecosystem is one critical measure that we green building experts also take into consideration. And then secondly, the materials that are used to construct the building. Then thirdly, the please, can you hear me? I can see that our facilitator is frozen. I hope it's not from my end.
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
so sorry. So
Right.
sorry. It
So,
was the network
no, I
actually.
just
So
wanted to be sure it wasn't from my end. No,
all
it's fine. I just
right,
wanted to
all
be sure it
right.
wasn't from my end.
Okay,
So
so
yes, so
thank you so
not just the
much.
natural ecosystem, but the entire materials that are used, the design of the building um, from the get go to the operation and then to the disposal of the building. So that's going to be my response to that.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate your presence here and the impact that you have done onto the section. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Ma. So we're expecting the slides so that we can share with the participants so that they can have an in-depth read through for the section. So thank you very much, Ma. We really appreciate you. There's no more question for now. So hopefully if there's a question, we'll communicate that with you. So
Thank
yes, you
you.
can yes, thank you so much. So please let's appreciate that. Let's me see more of our clubs.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure
Give
to be
our
here. Thank you
flowers.
for having me. Very
Yes. Really wonderful to have you here, ma'am. So let's appreciate that. Thank you so much, ma. You can have a wonderful day ahead, ma'am. Thank you. All right, that will be all for today. And yes, the next section will be communicated to us accordingly. So thank you everyone for joining the section for today. Please stay tuned as we'll be sharing necessary information, slides, and link that was premised by Amanda and also by Madam Oluwaseyi. Be sharing it with you. So thank you everyone. Thank you everyone. Thank you so much. Let's have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Once again, I am here today, Junaid, the program associate for AIIDEV Africa. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.